there are many ancient cultures around the world that all have the similar connections to land and to the earth and to culture, and something that we all want to see, and that is a nice healthy landscape for our younger generations to walk into, and a deeper understanding of who we are as people. And that's why it's just so important to be able to reach out to everybody, because it isn't about us and them. It isn't about black and white. It's deeper than that. It's about everyone.
This is the first day of the workshop, and it's essentially about getting community together to get connected to country and share knowledge and experience and come together. We've got people from all over to come and share the day. The words of my father, we have the tree bollard here. The reason we have tree bollard is that this tree grows in a symbiotic relationship of other trees, generally eucalyptus trees, which we refer to as our parent trees. So this one needs its parent to grow. So when I put this one on the fire, this is representative of children. Here we have some Tasman blue gum. So I like to think of heading down south and calling out to the people from the south to come up and see us and let them know that we're thinking about them. We have the lemon scent bark, which is from Queensland. It's known as an ornamental tree, but it's got a beautiful lemon scent to it. So I like to think of this one going all the way up to the top to call out to the people up there.
Going into the future of how can we benefit, not ourselves, how can we benefit the generations going forward?
The generation's not yet born.
Yep.
And that's a part of our smoking ceremonies. Mm-hmm. We pay our respects to our ancestors, past and present and emerging. There's another part of the smoking ceremony that reminds us of why we're out here caring for country. That first little fire that you light to let the bush know that you're introducing fire, to put the signal out there to the birds and the insects that there's going to be smoke and there's going to be fire, and they prepare to leave. We've also got during part of that smoking, so that's also to let Bunjil know that our next generations will receive this information and they'll know how to care for country, that Bunjil gave us a response, Bunjil being our creator.
Then we have some manna here, just from down the hill, so something to keep us all back to the country that we're on. But now I've put all this on, I'd like to welcome you all through to come through the smoke. Thank you everyone for being a part of this. It's really excited about today. As I said, it's about getting us all connected together and being out in country.
There's nothing more greater than being out on the country and teaching people firsthand from the land and doing things in a way that people can see the action in front of their eyes and see the changes in front of their eyes.
Brett and two of my daughters, Paige and Amelia, were out here on Friday. We essentially went along with a lighter, matches, and just applied fire. So all these patches you can see that are burnt, this is not encouraged. This is literally just one center point, allow it to burn, and then it trickled out, did its thing. Where it stopped, it wasn't pulled up by us, that's where it naturally stopped by itself. When we think about fuel reduction burns and that sort of stuff that a lot of these big agencies are doing, a lot of the time we're looking at, let's just say, scorched earth, essentially. A lot of things are getting burnt, but you can see in here, look at some of these sticks. Sticks this big are still surviving in amongst this fire. It sort of gives us a good indication of just how cool and how gentle the fire is. We're not cooking that soil layer. That's still staying, the moisture's still in there.
Looking at him today, I was very, very proud. He was working for another land management team back in 2018, I think it was. And I convinced him to come up to the fire workshop up in Cape York. He got up there and he was able to do his first burn, and he caught up with me later that day and he said, "Dad, when can I come back on the team?" I said, "Why?" He says, "This is where I belong. This is what I want to do. This is what I've been missing about understanding what it means to care for country."
The beauty of today was that it was presented in a way that I believe anyone can understand it. So it's a game changer. It's added something to the narrative today that I wasn't expecting.
When we're burning, we don't want to be burning this stuff all the time. Sometimes it's necessary because we're we have to open space to get the grasses back. But when we're burning healthy landscapes, all we're burning is the grasses, because all of these create habitat, shelter for all the animals, big and, oh, not big, you can't fit a kangaroo under there, but it creates all of those shelters and habitats for all the small animals, and that's part of our responsibility, is to look after all of the animals in everything that we do, not just the big ones, but all of them, because they all play an important role, just like we do. When we're burning things down to the white ash, it burns all the nutrients and everything else up. So what we really want to be seeing is the black charcoal, because that still holds the nutrients, and that's then going to go back into the soil, and it helps filter the water that runs down into the creeks and things like that. So there'll be a couple of things that you'll actually notice with the smoke that you see here. As we know, a lot of these eucalyptus have a lot of oils and stuff in them. And you can see a lot of the smoke that actually comes up out of the leaves is black, burns your eyes and stings your eyes. Our grasses burn and they're gone. It's a clear, it's a nice light coloured smoke. It's soft and it's okay for the animals. It's okay, it's the right smoke for the germination. So you'll see a big difference here, even just in how quickly that burns.
And it burns in one place for such a long time. And so the heat is going down, down, down. And so the majority of your land in Victoria and New South Wales and a lot of places around the country is all leaf litter on the ground. And there's no tucker for the animals. This is still going, look how long before I lit that before this. Now when we have our native grasses, we have a less flammable landscape. And we have a landscape that we can also burn regularly and look after. When we leave a land for too long and it builds up with rubbish after 7-10 years, it starts to suffocate all our food sources and destroy our landscape.
The city that I live in, why doesn't it care about country? Because it doesn't seem to care about country. It seems to, or the people that live in it seem to do what they want to with it. So just being in touch, I think, just being out in the bush, listening to Victor, listening to sort of the debates that were going on, changed direction for me.
Just listening to the way Victor talks about that knowledge and the timeliness of it, the fact that it's 500 years, he was saying, to get back to where nature wants the land to be. That's how we need to start looking at the world, rather than this really capitalistic, materialistic view of, we want everything here and now. If we can get the government to start listening to that and not worried about calendar time or clock time, then I think it's a start, it's a first step to sort of recovering the land.
That white smoke is like a medicinal smoke. So when you breathe it in, it doesn't make you cough. It doesn't make you sting your eyes. It's actually a warm, nice, cool smoke. And that smoke is the key to the landscape. How many of you seen those fires with all the black smoke in the air? The minute you see that, you know that they're burning hot and burning all the trees. When we get our grasses back, it's beautiful white smoke that dissipates into the atmosphere and just really good for the land. And so that smoke is crucial from the grass, because that starts the cycle. That what starts the flowering, the honey, and more importantly, it doesn't harm the bees and the birds, little birds in the nests and everything. Oh, koala can sleep through the smoke. He don't even wake up. He understands. All the animals know what I'm talking about, because they all have that in instinct. They grew with that fire for thousands of years. It's all about looking after the land. It's all about evolving the land, and we're a part of that evolution. It's really, really important. So now you can see here the white ash that represents heat. Over there, the grass, like Leadon said, the black ash here, nice and black, the grasses, that represents cool. And so you should be seeing fires after the wet season. In really good rain time, you should see fires everywhere. And that's like doctor, like going through the land and fixing and healing. Don't try and invent a machine that does it for us either, because they need the job. And we need the knowledge to be in people, and it's healing for people as well, to be healing landscapes. So what you see now is the nature of the fire. And take notice as the smoke goes up into the leaves, watch them do a little shimmer. they're having a bath, you know. And they go, oh, lovely. And so they do a little dance. You watch that smoke go up, you hit them leaves. And that's what it's all about, food. It's all about tapa, it's all about health, and it's all about time and love and care. The trees are the key to learn how to burn and learn how to read landscapes. So there's a language in the land. And that language is coming from the country, which is alive and talking to us all the time. And when you see the land like this, then it reflects who we are. It's a reflection of yourself. And when we see the land all no food and leaf, and we see all the thickness in the country and all sick and weedy, that reflects our society as people. So the country is always talking to us. And once we get a healthy landscape, our society is going to be amazing. It's going to be like, we're going to be at that next level of intelligence as people. We're going to understand the land better. A lot of hard work in the beginning, and then it gets easier in time. And the next generations that are born into the world will have an easier job and less debt once we start to do this hard work of chopping out and cleaning and putting tediously, walking through the land to light fires. Traditional knowledge and Aboriginal knowledge and natural law will never go out of date, no matter what you do to the land. Clear all the trees, you can do anything you want, but you never change the law of the country. And its identity is there. We just got to bring it back. And if we base our everything on that, we base our inventions on that, we base our architecture on that, then our ideas will be sustainable. And that's where natural law will always be there and always prevail, and will always be the baseline to amazing technology into the future. And when Mother Nature shines down and the sun shines down and everything on this land, if we work with the land, the abundance is just incredible and the opportunities are endless. And that's why it all starts with one little flame on the ground. Is this changing you? Mm-hmm. Isn't it amazing? Now imagine what it does for people who have problems with themselves, health and loss of identity. So this is so important for Aboriginal people, and it's so important for all people. But nothing is more rewarding than seeing people in front of me change within a few minutes, just with a few simple words and pointing towards some indicators and language that is deep within our landscape and has been deep within the landscape for thousands of years. Because the reality is that the land needs help. The reality is that we're all people, and the reality is we have to make change. And the other reality is that it's intergenerational. It's going to go on forever. And if we're going to heal this landscape, then we need to change humanity.
Why did Aboriginal people, in the early days of colonisation, even though they were victimised and being kicked off their land, that every time there was a disaster, the blackfellas would come out of the bush and they'd rescue those white people. They'd rescue the women and the children. You know, they'd fight back the fires and create a safe place so that those people would survive. And then the next day they'd be kicked off the land again. And modern people can't understand why they did it. And that's because I know, and I know now that Darren's got it too. You're on our country. It's our responsibility to care for you in the best way that we know how.
For the small part that Yarra Rangers has played to enable Darren to take on this role, and you know, so grateful that he has, through the wisdom and the knowledge from his father that's passed on to him, and to see him grow with this project, yeah, I feel hugely proud and grateful.
So what we've just done down there, this is a result of what happened on Friday. This is fire going up a tree in 2009. So we can see the scorch marks up there. We can see this tree is pretty upset about it. And this is a tree that had fire go up it on Friday. We have a scorch height of here. I'll give you a moment to soak that in and the size difference. We have these grasses here where they got their rootstocks at the bottom here. As we sort of peel away a bit of that dirt, we can see that they're still there. They're still healthy. They've still got a chance to survive. That's like clayey soil. Pass some of this around, eh? Some of that, get the dirt in your hands there and pass them around. Yeah, you can feel that soil in there. It's clay. It's it's able to protect that rootstock because the heat. And as we felt before with the burn that we're coming through with the grasses and the heat and stuff like that, it was able to. We got the moisture in there. It was able to actually protect itself in order for it to grow again. With agency burns, they look at a place and they said we want 100% coverage. We need to burn the whole lot. That's too much. As Victor was saying this morning about the shock to the system of the country, it's too much in one go. So we allow the fires to spread out and do their small burns. Let it do its thing. And that's part of country telling us what it needs to do to make itself feel better.
I was saying to someone earlier when we were wandering around, you just can't read and understand. You have to experience it. Being there, being around fire, being in a different frame of mind around fire.
We have to have a balance in regards to what's happening out there on the ground in regards to fuel reduction. But to me, as far as protecting our communities, those rural townships that we've got, I believe Fire Stick is probably our key to the future. You can take people on this journey with a PowerPoint presentation in the office or reading something, but it doesn't hit home until you walk the country and you do it on country. You light that fire, you put that fire in motion. That's when it really hits home to you.
Being engaged with Victor in those early days, and I can remember being spoken to, and I thought to myself, what's Brett doing? What's this fella from Queensland coming down here? What can he tell us about our country? But then when we came out into country and listening to what you're hearing today, that's what swayed me. And I've been hooked with it ever since. And to me and to our municipality, this would be one of the best tools that we've got in our toolbox for reconciliation. When we look across the cross-section of people that are here today, that are involved with this and listening to these experts in this field, we're all taking it in. And we're on this journey for Fire Stick, and we're on a journey for reconciliation as well. One of the crucial tools that we've got is Fire Stick to protect our communities. I believe that is the future, that we have our Wurundjeri folk trained in this practice and qualified in this practice, so they're there to deliver. So all I ask you is, as team leaders, representatives from your agencies, to take the message back. Thanks everyone for coming today. Thanks Darren, and thanks Uncle Dave.
What we need to understand is that here we are in Australia and we are on Aboriginal land, and it's important that wherever we are in the world that we respect the people and the place.
There are two different times. Now, I hadn't realised this. We look at Western time, and which is divided into seconds. And I said to somebody recently, our days are getting shorter. The time's moving. He said, yes, it is. And he put me back in touch with Toffler's The Future Shock. And I said, that's not Aboriginal time, is it? He said, no. And he does a lot of work over in the Kimberleys. And he said, they're very clear that the past and the future are right here now.
Yeah, one of the things that I still teach my students now is asking them to connect with their land. It's underneath them, and it's a difficult thing for non-Indigenous people to do because they're not brought up that way. I wasn't brought up that way, but I knew I was Aboriginal and gradually asked Mum questions when she was still here, and she'd feed me little bits of information about it and talk about her grandmother, for example, and how important culture was to her.
There's no question about it. We've got to do this work. We've got to be the turning point, like I said before. We've just got to change the way we are, who we are at the moment, and move into a better space, What we actually are doing is reviving knowledge from landscapes. And that's a very, very special technique where I come down and I share knowledge with these fellas on their own land and say, well, you got the same tree, you got the same soil as ours. I'm helping them to rebuild their own knowledge that may have been lost in the past, because everything is still in the landscape. And that's where we get our knowledge from. And that's something that Western science can't do, see? It's only something that old knowledge systems can do. And we're very lucky that we have that knowledge there from my mentors.
And that's what we need as Aboriginal people. We need as many passengers as we can get to help us get to where we need to go and to improve our land. I often say to my students, it's Aboriginal land. We call it Aboriginal land, but that doesn't mean it's mine and not yours as non-Aboriginal people. We're all Australians. Our home is here, so we should feel connected to it. We should learn about this stuff so that we do connect to it.
Being able to sit on country and understand that and have that mirror looking back at me and somehow understanding myself deeper, somehow understanding the community that I live in and the kinds of things that we're working on, for healing or for progression. What I was around this morning and that knowledge and the way that Victor passed it on, it's just like I just felt an incredible ease just come over me, because country was informing me in a way that I don't think it ever has before. I've never quite looked at it like that. Yeah, it's quite deep. I mean, I'll be sitting with this for a while.
And colonisation affects everybody. So we're all thinking the wrong way now. So when we look at this country now and we look at this, you think, oh, it's really good, eh? We've got grass at back, but we're still not there. Because we see the trees. Look how many there are. And so what happens, what we're trying to do is get an old growth forest back again. And so we need to look after these trees and take care of them. And so when they're old and big and like an old growth, then they're able to thin themselves out. They're able to actually hold out the weeds, and they're able to bring up the right grasses and the diversity. And then we can get less fire in the land, and it'll stay greener longer. There'll be more moisture in the soils. But when we get this situation where the trees are died and all being cleared, then we get all this thickening. See all the trees? Thousands upon thousands of them are all through this landscape now, and all little stringy ones. So now they all break all the leaves, and so if you look in here on the graph, we still got a lot of leaf litter coming down because the leaves of these trees, there's too many trees, too many young ones. And so in the drought time, these big trees are going to have less chance of survival because these fellas are sucking all the water from them. And so we end up with, even in drought, the country is having struggles because of the condition it's in. So getting this country old is what we have to do. And getting the trees to be old again is what we need to do.
This, for me, today, showed clearly Aboriginal knowledge as a science. And I don't think people have quite made that connection yet. It's holistic. It's in consideration of every other living thing and human beings that live there, and the history of the land, and including the histories and human beings' memory of that length of time.
For myself, some of the things you've said today have actually changed my life. I now understand what Gary said today when he said that it is a life-changing experience.
To be able to communicate to people in a way that really hits home, especially something so important when it's around, the well-being of our future, the land, and more importantly, who we are as well as people.
This is all part of how we help to, I suppose, understand and read country, because it's giving us those messages, through all that little, the little changes of wind shift and temperature changes, how the ground feels under our feet. Now that I've been made aware of it, just how often your brain is processing all this information, and country wants to tell you. It's happy to see you when you're on country. It wants you to be here, and it wants to tell you how it's feeling.
The team is in the right space, and I think with traditional owners, people like Uncle Dave that are putting this message out, and guys like yourself and Darren who are going to be the future generation in delivering these projects, delivering these outcomes, that's just so wonderful to see.
But for Wurundjeri people, we were the government, and we still feel that cultural responsibility to care for people. And if we can care for people by reinvigorating our cultural practices in land management, fire only being one of them, then we're fulfilling our role to our ancestors.
We get these amazing opportunities like today where we can have a lot of people that are active in this space, that are active and have a lot of connection with community and have a lot of connection with people. You can learn alongside with us and be a part of that movement, and that you can actually start to talk to other people and get them to convince them that this is the right way to do things. Really push that message along to make sure that we're supported. You're all allies now. You're all part of it. Just simply being every time you mention fire sticks, every time you mention the environment, now that you've been a part of this, you are a part of the system from now on. It's something you get to share with your friends and family and your loved ones. You get to share it with the bit of property that you have at home. Talk about how much love and appreciation and care we have for country.
It's not a hazard, it's not a threat, it's something to be held, it's something to look after, it's something to love. So yeah, I'm so grateful that everyone can be a part of that now, you know. It's welcome to the family.
Let's walk country together so we can heal country together, and we'll heal ourselves as people. That's it.